I remember y'all draft takes. I remember y'all 2024 draft takes. And for those who have been watching me for a very long time, you guys know that I've been defending this draft class for forever. A lot of people were saying they wouldn't trade Lou Dort for the first pick in the draft. A lot of people were saying the Atlanta Hawks are so unlucky because they got the number one pick in one of the worst drafts of all time. And it always like makes me laugh because a lot of people who talk about this 24 draft class did not watch college basketball. People feel so vindicated because a 20 people think they're so right about a draft class when there's a Anthony Edwards, when there's a Cade Cunningham, when there's a Paolo Banchero, when there's a Victor Wembanyama, when there's a Cooper Flag. When I'll tell you this, the 2023 draft class doesn't look the best. But since Victor Wembanyama was at the top, and you got a Men Thompson in there, and you got a Sar Thompson in there, great draft class. But then when I look at the draft, I see Victor Wembanyama, I see Brandon Miller. Scoot has yet to play this season. Amina Nasor, great picks. Anthony Black, great picks. Bilal Coulibaly is still getting his foot in the water. Same with Jure. Same with Taylor Hendricks. Cason Wallace, good pick. Jed Howard still trying to ramp up. Derek Lively has been good. Grady Dick still trying to ramp up. Jordan Hawkins, Kobe Buffkin, Keontae George was solid. Jalen Hood-Schifino, Jaime Hawkins is revamping his career. Brandon Pajemski's going downhill. Cam Whitmore's on a new team. Is this the draft class we're hyping up because of this name right here? Are we hyping up this draft class because of this name right here? Let me know. Let me know. But this is a good draft because of this name and this name and this name. And now all of a sudden this name. And I'll tell you this 2024 draft class has a lot of very impactful players. They may not be superstars. Again, this draft may not have the Anthony Edwards or the Cade Cunningham or the Cooper Flag or the Victor Wembanyama or the Cameron Boozer, Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsta. They may not have that, but they have a lot of guys who put a team together. A lot of guys that are glue within a team. Yeah, the team's great because SGA is on it, but it's not as good without Lou Dort and Cason Wallace and Isaiah Hartenstein and all those guys. This is a very deep draft. And I'm about to show y'all. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of At the Buzzer Sports, where we talk all things basketball all the time. My name is John Drummond, and today we have a 2024 NBA redraft. This is a draft class that I hold very dearly to my heart because this is the draft class that I started my YouTube channel with. If you guys check all the way back in the 2023-2024 NBA offseason, I was doing mock drafts. And that's really how my YouTube channel started. I was doing mock drafts maybe every few days, just really getting familiar with the draft class. And guess what happened? Started getting known as the draft guy. And it makes me really happy to see that this draft class is really starting to find its footing. Look at what Reed Shepherd has done with Houston. Look at what Stephon Castle has done with San Antonio. Look what Alex Sarr and Keyshawn George are doing with this Washington Wizards team. Now, don't get me wrong. This Washington Wizards team is not good. But Alex Sarr and Keyshawn George, that's a future. That is a future. If you guys look at what Modest was doing to start the season, what Jared McCain was doing in his rookie year, there's a lot of talent in this draft class. A lot. But when you look at the number one pick compared to the last few years' number one pick and the year after's number one pick, if you compare Zachary Risachet to Cooper Flag, to Victor Wembanyama, to Paolo Banchero, to Anthony Edwards, to Cade Cunningham, to Zion Williamson, then that's where people make their answers. That's where people get their ideas from. But without further being said, let's get into the draft class. I think I'm going to start off with a controversial pick. And I don't know if I would say he's been better than Stephon Castle this season. So far this season, I think Stephon Castle has been the best out of the draft class. He's showing real all-star potential with his slashing and his defense and his athleticism on the perimeter and his finishing around the rim, his tough shot making improvement, all of those things. But then I look at Alex Sarr and I say, this is probably the perfect five-man for Atlanta. Mind you, this is when Atlanta made the trade for Dyson Daniels. They get off DeJounte Murray. They need a five. They needed a 5. I think Alex Starr's athleticism, rim protection upside, the plays he can make with the ball in his hand, the aggressiveness around the rim, all of that started to get better this season. And it still proves me to say that this might be the best prospect to go with for Atlanta. And we have to understand right now, Alex Starr isn't really playing with a playmaker or a pick and roll partner to the level of Trae Young. That's where I feel like Alex Sarr is going to reach a level that he hasn't even reached this season because he's playing with a guy like Trae Young. And imagine that transition game. You have a transition of, you have a fast break with Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, and Alex Sarr. That's really hard to guard. That's really hard to guard. That's why I'll be going with Alex Sarr with the first pick. Yeah, he may not be playing better than Stephon Castle right now. He may not be. And that's okay. Because I think he plays even better next to Trae Young than Stephon Castle does. Up next, I am going to go with the best player out of the 2024 draft class so far, and that will be Stephon Castle. Right now, he's averaging about 18 points per game and 7 assists. He's shooting about 50% inside the arc. Let's take a look. Let's take a look real fast if he's shooting that. He's shooting 63% inside the arc. So I very underrated. He's shooting 5.3 out of 8.3 2-point attempts per game. He's getting to the free throw line, or he's shooting 6.2 free throw attempts, which is 2 points, 2 free throws more than last year. He's had a really big turnover increase, which has come with him having the ball in his hands a lot more. That's why I probably will never see him being a real point guard, just because the turnovers are pretty bad. Not saying that that can improve, but I don't necessarily think it has to improve for him to be effective on the basketball court. He's extremely athletic. He really loves taking contact on the offensive and defensive side of the basketball. He gets to the rim with ease. All the athleticism and ball handling he has on the perimeter allows him to get to the rim with effectiveness. If we take a look at his shooting, I think Stephon Castle is the guy for Washington, and they get their 2 guard of the future. Up next, with the number 3 pick, we got the Houston Rockets. I still go Reed Sheppard here. I think Reed Sheppard has improved a lot from the start of the season to now. With how good of a 3-point shooter he is, he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. I think he's shooting about 40-something% from 3-point land, and this is 3-point shots off the dribble, off the catch. He relocates really well. He plays in pick and roll really well, especially with Steven Adams. He has a nice feel of getting into the mid-range. Those things are really good for Houston, and this is what Houston needs. They need a movement shooter. They need a floor spacer. They need a guy that can move off the ball. I think Reed Sheppard was a good pick then. I think it's a good pick now. Reed Sheppard's going to be my number 3 pick. As for the San Antonio Spurs, missing out on Stephon Castle, what are they going to do to replace that? Now, at the time, they don't have De'Aaron Fox. They don't have Stephon Castle. They don't have Dylan Harper. You might want to pair Wemby up with a point guard, but the thing is, outside of maybe Jared McCain, I don't really see a point guard that works for them. I don't think Jared McCain is the playmaker or ball handler in isolation for him to create an advantage consistently for Victor Wembanyama. So why not just go with Matas Buzelis? Matas Buzelis is one of the better transition players in this draft class, if not the very best transition player in this draft class. He finishes around the rim very well. He's getting a lot better with his ball handling and his 3-point shot. Why not take Matas Buzelis for the San Antonio Spurs? It gives them a little bit more length. It gives them some more athleticism, and it gives them an extra lengthy wing that they could use on this roster, which is something they're probably lacking as of right now. So we're going to go Matas Buzelis with the number 4 pick. As for the number 5 pick, this is where I go Jared McCain. Jared McCain is my guy out of this draft class. I don't know what it is. Back-to-back draft classes, Jared McCain in 2024, Kaman Malawach in 2025. My guy is not a Duke player in 2026. I'm still finalizing who my guy is, but he will not be playing for Duke this season. Jared McCain being that extra ball handler that Detroit needs, that movement shooter, somebody that can play off the ball and on the ball. He's really good in pick and roll, and I think he could be really good in DHOs with Jalen Duren. He's one of the better transition pull-up 3-point shooters in this draft class, one of the best shooters in this draft class, and he is very he could be extremely liable to go off for 30, go off for 35, go off for 40, because he's so good at the 3 ball. He's so good at attacking closeouts. He's so good at relocating. I think that's something that Detroit needs, and they also need an extra ball handler that can carry that offensive burden while Cade isn't on the floor. So I'm going to go Jared McCain here. I think that's a really good pick. As for the Charlotte Hornets, I definitely thought they should have went big man in this draft. They ended up making probably the worst pick in the lottery, and that's Tijon Saloon, who's not really playing much for this basketball team. There's a lot of players you can go with. You can go with Donovan Clingan, you can go with Zach Edey, and you can go with Kel'el Ware. Those are my three options, and I think I'm going to go with Kel'el Ware. And the reason I'm going to go with Kel'el Ware is because I think he's probably a better transition threat next to LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller than a Donovan Clingan and Zach Edey. Those guys are really good screen setters. But I don't think they run in transition as well as Kel'el Ware can. And that's where their two best players are most valuable. LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. Obviously, Conca is not in the league at this time, so I'm not going to bring him up. But I think Kel'el Ware would fit really good with what Charlotte is trying to do, especially in transition where, like I said, their two best players operate. So give me Kel'el Ware at number 6. Up next, we have the Portland Trail Blazers, and they're going to go center as well, and they're going to go Zach Edey. Zach Edey has been phenomenal for Memphis this year, and he's going to be phenomenal for Portland. He's been one of the best rim protectors in basketball. He's added some strength to him. He's really good at sealing around the rim. And he's just been a great offensive rebounder, great screen setter, somebody that can make Scoot Henderson's life easier, somebody that can make Shaedon Sharp's life easier, somebody that can make Denny Advia's life much easier. I'm going to go with Zach Edey here. He's been fantastic this season. This is somebody that I have severely underrated going into the draft process when it was happening live. I was mocking Zach Edey all the way at 26 to the Washington Wizards. And that's because back then I was just undervaluing how good it is or how valuable it is to be big on a basketball floor. Zach Edey stands at 7'3" and he's over 260 pounds. That's huge. That is a huge man. Somebody that can seal, guard the post, protect the rim, set really good screens, and rebound the hell out of the basketball. That's extremely valuable for teams that need that. I'm going to go Zach Edey at number 7 here. As for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm going to go point guard here because the Rob Dillingham experiment did not work out well. Now, there's obviously some really good candidates here. You have Isaiah Collier, who can put some pressure on the rim. Bub Carrington, who plays in the mid-range pretty well. There's also some guys like Keyshawn George, if they want to get somebody that's extremely versatile and can play in a lineup next to Jaden McDaniels, and they can do a really switch-heavy type of scheme. Same can be said with Ryan Dunn. Same could be said with Jalen Tyson. But I'm going to go with A.J. Mitchell. AJ Mitchell has been really good to start the season. At one point, he was averaging around 17 points per game. I think that dropped down to maybe 14 or 13. But as an extra ball handler, playmaker, and somebody that can play and pick and roll, he's going to be perfect next to Anthony Edwards. A guy that will probably need some time. I don't think he's going to start immediately for this Minnesota Timberwolves team. But if he could be what he is right now, paired next to Anthony Edwards, I think that fixes the point guard situation. You don't need somebody that's going to average 25 points per game. You don't. You need somebody that's going to be able to handle the ball consistently, somebody that can deal with ball pressure, somebody that can make good passes, somebody that can play and pick and roll, somebody that can get Rudy Gobert the ball, can get Anthony Edwards the ball, can make kickouts to Jaden McDaniels. And that's what AJ Mitchell can do. I don't think he has to be a superstar point guard. He doesn't. He just needs to be somebody that can handle ball pressure and make reads consistently. And that's what I think AJ Mitchell does. As for the Memphis Grizzlies, this was my consistent mock throughout the entire draft process. Donovan Clingan was going to Memphis at number 9 if it were up to me. I think that was probably the best pick for them. Now, Zach Edey is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but I think Donovan Clingan is going to be the next pick up if they don't have Zach Edey on the board, if they don't have Kel'el Ware on the board. Donovan Clingan, another guy that's just really good offensive rebounder, has extreme size. He's huge. He's one of the biggest players in the NBA, really good screen setter. The only problem with me is he fouls often. He fouls a lot. So that's the only thing I have with him. And one of my biggest gripes with him, but I think Donovan Clingan would be fantastic for this Memphis Grizzlies team. With my number 10 pick with the Utah Jazz, they didn't really have the best pick, Cody Williams, who's in and out of the rotation now. I'm going to go with Keyshawn George. Keyshawn George has been fantastic this season. I would say he's been maybe a top 5 to 7 player out of this 24 draft class. Him falling to 10 is probably just due to situation. A lot of these players needed centers, but Keyshawn George will be a major upgrade over Cody Williams. He's a really good point of attack defender. He has really good length. He guards multiple matchups. I've seen him guard Jalen Brunson. I've seen him guard Jaylen Brown. I've seen him put the ball on the floor. He's been much better as a three-point shooter and playmaker this season, even though his turnovers have went up. He's increased in rim pressure. I think Keyshawn George is phenomenal, and he's a great multi-tool for any offense or defense, and he's going to shine in Utah. He's going to shine in Utah, and I think this is a really good pick for them. As for the Chicago Bulls, there's a multitude of different places I would go. I think Ron Holland is a really good pick for them here. I also think there are guys like Tristan da Silva that will work really well. Ryan Dunn could work really well for them. Terrence Shannon, maybe later in the draft, could work really well for them. There's a lot of really good picks here. Okay, with the 11th pick in this draft, I'm going to have the Chicago Bulls taking Zachary Risachet. This is like a solid replacement for Josh Giddey. I feel like he plays transition very well. He relocates very well. Isn't playing too well right now. He is definitely in a sophomore slump. I think he could definitely pick it back up because I think he has the tools to be a really good player in this league. He's shown signs of being a solid defender, signs of being a really good offensive player. Towards the end of last year, he got better with putting the ball on the floor. So we'll see how good that will be next to Josh Giddey. As for number 12, I'm going to have OKC take Ron Holland, an athlete that's really good on the defensive side of the floor and I think would fit with OKC pretty well. As for 13, this is where I have the Sacramento Kings taking Ryan Dunn. I think they're going to take Ryan Dunn here because he sets really good screens. He's a really good athletic player. He's a really good on-ball defender. And I feel as though he gives some versatility in between lineups where he could run with Keegan Murray. These guys being able to switch multiple times. I think Ryan Dunn will be really good for the Sacramento Kings. As for the Washington Wizards, they get another pick here. And this is where I'm probably going to go with my guy. Where is he? Because I almost forgot about him. Where is he? There he is. Jalen Wells. Jalen Wells. Now, he's not as good as Keyshawn George, but he's a really good defender. He's a solid three-point shooter. And I think him and Stephon Castle could build a really nice defensive wing duo at the guard and forward spot for the future. So this is my 2024 redraft. We have Alex Sarr, Stephon Castle, Reed Shepard, Modest Buzelis, Jared McCain, Khalil Ware, Zach Edey, AJ Mitchell, Donovan Clingan, Keyshawn George, Zachary Risachet, Ron Holland, Ryan Dunn, and Jalen Wells. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ATBSports1. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at @TheBuzzerSports_, and make sure you guys follow me on TikTok at @TheBuzzerENT. And with all that being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace.